until losers qualification, it is a race to 8. But on the winner's side, it is a race to 9. Well, that's not the normal handshake, is it? But who will be kissed by success?
Yeah, and both these players, of course, playing well, know each other's game better than anyone. But they, no matter who wins or loses, they'll both be in the event trying to advance to the final 64. One will advance after this match. The other has to win one on the one-loss side.
I'm trying to think of sporting parallels here. Where would you see a husband and a wife competing against each other on a major international stage? Now, I know back in England, you have very top-class female jockeys who would be in the same race and often beating the male jockeys, and maybe there's some kind of relationship going on there. In the snooker, Norway in the World Cup a few years ago, they were represented by a husband and wife team. But actually, man and wife going up against each other in a tournament of this nature, of this prestige, is it unique?
Yeah, I think your first, analogy of the horse racing, I think, is probably about as close as we could get. Actually have a little experience with that. My older brother still owns and trains them, and when him and my mom started with that in the 80s, they actually had their most common jockey was a female, and she did very well. And what a shot to open the match from Josh Filler. It's one thing to pick out a shot, but to know you're going to hit the ball so well, it's got to really feel special. You couldn't figure out what was a better shot, this combination right here on the 7 or that opening 2 ball.
Matt Lynch of Matchroom, in his press release yesterday announcing that these two would play, described Joshua and Pia as the Posh and Becks of pool, and I think that's absolutely on the money. Not quite so well known, or indeed rich, but nevertheless I think the analogy does work.
Well, a little light with the cue ball there. This could get funny. It just does creep past the 9 and should play it with a fairly light speed.
The one thing you can guarantee here, there will be no slack pull from Joshua Filler. He fully respects his wife's capabilities. He knows that he will have to play well, and he also knows that the most respect he can pay her is to play properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that had to be, he had to be reminded of that from his wife, Pia. They got future things going on in this tournament, and no reason to start making mistakes at this point, no matter who your opponent is. Just as we've talked about when you're a heavy favorite, let alone it being your wife.
Well, the break looks pretty efficient there. Just a matter of whether he can get through for the 2 ball.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed right there him checking to see if he could get through to the 2, if the 2 passed the 5. And that tells you he's in game mode immediately, and pretty impressive, I'll tell you. All right, funny little shot here to try and get short side position, and I'll tell you what, Josh is feeling pretty good. And that's usually what champions do, and you might say they get away with a match like he did maybe yesterday in that Hill match against a former friend, or I'm sure still friend, but former colleague in the German pool world, and they tend to play better and better after getting through a match like that.
And of course, it's worth reminding everyone here that whoever tops the 9-ball ranking at the end of this tournament will be guaranteed to be in the Mosconi Cup team. From a European standpoint, of course, that means that it's either Filler or Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, and now both of them, FSR and Josh, have both had a major scare and survived it.
Yeah, that another reminder and storyline of that last big comeback win from FSR. Looks like Pia's just going one rail at this. A lot of players may kick 3 rails behind this ball, but 1 rail's okay. Should be pretty firm. Oh, nice hit.
In snooker, we've had a couple of instances where father and son have played each other on the professional tour. Most recently, Oliver and Peter Lines. Back in the day, a really good friend of mine, former world number 3, Neil Folds, had to play his father, Jeff. And of course, in pool, you get the Oscar Dominguez Jr. and Sr., don't you? And I believe when that's the case, the father just steps aside.
Well, I don't know about that. Ernesto is definitely a competitor, and that's where Oscar got his competitive nature from. And Lou Butera with Sal Butera, another, of course, Hall of Famer, Lou Butera, and his son, another great player from California. And like you had mentioned years ago, there were 2 brothers, I think you said, that were the top 2 players in snooker.
Well, yes, that's the extraordinary Joe and Fred Davis brothers.
Can't remember their names, and I should. I think there were 2 brothers some 20 years ago maybe that dominated doubles in tennis for some time. But normally when family are involved in sports, they're usually on the same side, but not in this match.
Yes, Joe and Fred Davis. When the World Championship began in 1927, Joe won it, and he remained undefeated in the World Championship until his retirement from that tournament in 1946. And then Fred basically took over as the dominant force, and he won the world title 8 times.
Wow.
The problem was with Joe and Fred. Joe obviously wanted to retain that unbeaten title in the World Championship. Who wouldn't? And in the 46 Championship, which was very well attended, and it really put snooker even higher on the sporting consciousness, Fred came very close to beating Joe. And I don't think Joe was too pleased about that kind of result. So what did he do? He retired from the World Championship but continued to play in other tournaments to keep that undefeated tag. In his case, the O didn't go.
Right.
So a couple of missed pots here from Josh. Pia has got the chance to equalise.
Man, I almost see a little bit, Pia's pace around the table usually a bit slower than Josh's, and I wonder if maybe playing Josh, she may get playing a little faster than normal. She sure has come a long ways with her pool game in the last couple of years, and sure what her ranking is, but I gotta believe it's in the top 10, I would think. I know definitely in Europe.
Oh, undoubtedly. She's an 11-time German champion, and earlier this year, she won the European 8-ball championship for women.
Oh, showing the power right there. Taking a very small angle, and that's a sign of comfort.
Smile on the face of Joshua Filler. But I tell you what, knowing him, he'll be thinking, that's enough of that. It really is an extraordinary match to commentate on, actually.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see some great pool from both players, and another, memory that all of us will take, and especially these two at the table. I wouldn't even call that a wry smile there. That was pretty genuine. I think probably happy to see Pia get on the board quickly.
On the one-loss side, I can tell you Chris Melling, his latest match, he's 2-1 up on Daniel Bakasioglu from Sweden. Skylar Woodward and Matt Edwards, they've shared the first 4 racks, 2 each there. And Hector Iglesias and Yanni Siki, they're Hill 7-7.
All right, Pia making a ball on the break. The one not really agreeing, getting a little covered up by the 3. So it'll be a little tactical battle, and Pia, pretty sharp player overall, and like most, probably wants to get the best of Josh on the tactical side of things, because it's awfully hard to get the best of Josh any other manner.
Yes, and of course, after the defeat and exit of Veronika Ivanovskaya last night, Pia Filler is the last woman left in the tournament.
And she's got a loss left. If she does happen to lose this, she'll go to the one-loss side, having to win one more match to make that final 64. And what a feat that would be. I know she wants to go further, of course, but wants to stun the cue ball a little bit behind the 3, it looks like. Oh. Didn't realize she didn't have all the 1 ball to shoot at. Pretty nice shot, though, overall.
Yeah, just to further expand on what you were saying there, Jeremy. Yes, the loser does have 1 more life. The loser of this match will play either Melling or Bakasioglu.
Yeah, and again, this is really where, as a spectator, of course, there's been some great matches. There's been some great upsets. We always pull for the underdogs, it seems, but this is really where you start to find all the quality matches of the event. Is he going for the 9? And I think Josh would have shot at that playing anyone, really. It looked like a little bit of a loose play, but the safety was awfully tough. And if you're ever going to shoot at a bank combination, or combination bank, excuse me, this one was laying pretty nice. It didn't miss by much. Of course, Rana Regley and Alexa Paselge playing on the YouTube channel, Matchroom's YouTube channel. And Rana Regley trying to get on the board, trailing 3-0. I think Josh can get at this, and he does have an angle to come across maybe into the 2-6. Maybe behind the 2 for natural short side position. Oh, maybe now that tells me maybe he's partially snookered at the 1. I think he can get at it. Maybe not possibly make it, though.
The 2 and the 6, where they sit very close to each other, didn't place a great amount of jeopardy on that shot. By the way, Ronald Wrigley did win that 4th rack over on table 2, so Alexa Pasolsh's lead has been reduced to 3-1.
And you can see that many of the fans have come over into the seating part of the arena to watch this match.
Yeah, when Torsten Homan got through half an hour or so ago, there was a big crowd on that side of the grandstand watching him, and a big cheer went up when he just about got over the line.
Yeah, heel match, and it's good for Thorsten to get through that, his first match. He's still got to win a couple more, I believe, to qualify. But good to get started and get through a tough one. Pia caught a double kiss there. It's just something I liked her shot selection. I just don't think you could avoid the double kiss the way it laid. Pia with of course, Josh won the gold medal at the World Games, and Pia had a nice showing as well. Played awfully well. Kelly Fisher just seems to be unbeatable on the ladies' side in 2022.
Yeah, that World Games hosted by Birmingham, Alabama. When you think of Alabama, you also think of the Crimson Tide and War Eagle and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there were plenty of discussions. I've always, even though I was a big Bear Bryant fan growing up, but I was always a guy, unless it was my team, I was an underdog kind of guy. So I always grew up a little bit more of an Auburn fan, and I expressed that a few times. Some didn't take it so nicely over in Birmingham, but found a few Auburn fans over there, but definitely heavy on the maroon.
Well, right now, the focus for Pia Filler is on the blue 2, ball in hand, and this could be promising.
Yeah, I don't know if the 4 goes by the 9 in the left side. Could be a difficult little situation there. It looks like it's stuck to the 9. May not have the opposite side either, so here you want to stay off the rail with the cue ball. Anytime you're really trying to manipulate to get short side position or break balls out, staying off the rail is kind of important. Now, she may be able to play a kiss shot on the 9 coming off the pink 4 and colliding, kissing the 9 in the side. Actually, she's gotten perfect for that kiss shot if that's what's needed here. Now she's looking to see, I guess the 4 does pass.
Pia Filler does not seem phased in any way by the unique circumstance, by being centre stage, by being in front of the cameras, acquitting herself really well so far.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there. No reason to get this thin on the 6 with the 7-9 so handy over the sides. And I think if you look at it mentally, you got to believe that if anyone's a little, out of sorts behind playing their partner, you would think it would affect Josh a little more than Pia, in my opinion, anyways.
Oh dear, that is a miss that no one could possibly have foreseen.
No, and it looked like just a little miss hit on the cue ball, maybe put a hair more left English than she desired. And we always talk about this, the table will tighten up as the days go on.
And you do not want to hand Josh Filler an invitation to go on one of his patented streaks of brilliance. Maybe that invitation was handed out right there. Filler J leads Filler P 2-1. Just one more match to be completed on the losers round 2 section. David Borkowski finds himself 7-6 up on Jorge Welsh. When that match is over, that will be the second round in the losers in the books.
Well, Josh would know off. Well, maybe a cross-side bank does play, but I don't think you're going to see Josh vary from how he plays too much. And I say that for 2 different reasons, or 2 reasons you may think he may vary, that being, of course, his wife he's playing, and, of course, a considerable favorite as well. And Josh, of course, an aggressive player, but I don't think you'll see him go for many loose shots that he wouldn't normally play. He's a confident player. That's why he's arguably the best in the world at the moment, as he kind of takes the game over a little bit more. Where, you know, the upper echelon players are going to consider that bank. Most are going to pull the trigger on it, but he just does seems to hit the ball just a little better than most. Very big shot here, kind of going back and forth. Oh, he went 3 rails inside English. Shot you must have in your arsenal.
You know, when he won the World Masters in Gibraltar earlier this year, I interviewed him afterwards for Billiards Digest, and I said to him, you know, what's the plan? Will you celebrate? He went, not really. He said, I'm happy for about half an hour after I've won a tournament, and then all I do is start thinking about the next one. And that is so alike the snooker player Stephen Hendry. He always used to say, I get more pleasure in avoiding feeling bad about defeat than I do about actually being over the moon about winning. And I think Filler is exactly in that category as well. He's got an insatiable appetite for success, and no matter how many tournaments he wins, and he's still a very young man, he will want to win more and more and more. He'll be never satisfied.
Yeah, and winning comes along with just playing better as well. That's where he wants to. He knows if he plays his game, he's going to be near the end of the event quite often. And, you know, usually, and this is the part we can't always see what's going on, but usually when someone's so gifted physically, there's a lot of gift mentally as well. And I think that's what you're getting at there.
That works. 15 starts he's made in 2022. He's not placed outside of the top 9.
Well, that's saying something, not only with how many great players we have today, but how fickle our game can be. And I think with the new break rule, you know, I used to say that, of course, execution will overcome a little bit of a bad decision, or knowledge at times even, but I think that's going to change a little bit now with our break rule. We have so many young players that shoot straight, very good with the jump cue, but still are lacking some of the experience and knowledge of the top players, and I think that's going to show up a bit more. But it's also going to make them gain knowledge quicker, which I think in the end the players are going to appreciate it. Low kill shot here.
And there was just a tad too much kill, although the green 6 ball was never going to be too much of a headache.
You know, a lot of the players would rather take more of that cut than rest the cue ball on the rail. Now Josh getting on with what Josh does, putting the rhythm together along with some break and runs.
Yes, when Pia Filler missed that quite simple 7 ball on the verge of leading 2-1, you wondered whether that would be the catalyst for her husband to start to dominate. It certainly looks that way now. He leads 4-1. Over on table 2, the action you can see on the Matchroom Pool YouTube channel. Alexa Pacholch was 3-0 up on Ronald Wrigley. It's now 3-2. Other matches on the Winners Qualification side. Babkin Melkonyan from Romania, 4-3 up on Senarup Azar. And Roman Hebler, 5-0 up on Abdullah Al Yusuf. I'll give you some more at the end of this rack.
Okay, looks like a rollout situation for Josh. Cue ball just running on top of the 3.
We've just seen an inventive cushion first 1-9 combination from Alexa Pacholch over on table 2, so he now leads Ronald Wrigley 4-2.
Yeah, and a great shot from Pacholch, but a little bit of a so-so safety, I thought, from Ronald. Maybe didn't think it through quite as much. Okay, rolling out to some distance, it looks like. Don't see Pia passing this. Should be able to put the 2 on the long left side rail. Let the cue ball go between the 5-6 and over to the right side rail, kind of using the 6-7 as blockers. She's got some other options, I guess. She could kind of bank the 2 away up table and kind of hold the cue ball with a draw stroke.
I'm going to give you some good news, Jeremy. Skylar Woodward, 5-2 up on Matt Edwards in that loser round 3 match.
Yeah, and I talked to Sky after his loss yesterday, and he said he just couldn't get settled. Felt a little jumpy. Oh, what a great shot. I was surprised that Pia passed on that rollout. Now, she may have not gone offensive like Josh, but a lot of players pass on some rollouts these days, where a long time ago I was told by many of the greats of our game, you rarely pass the rollout. Really has to be a unique situation.
Oh, look at that again. You know, he produced for me the shot of yesterday. It was out on an outside table, and it was the 2 ball. Had to find a gap between 2 balls, having potted the 2 off the rail in the deciding rack against Rafael Val. He was under immense pressure. He knocked in the 2 sweetly, found the gap, landed on a 3-9 combination, and that was that. It wasn't just brilliance, it was brilliance immaculately timed.
Well, just like, you know, any sport, you have to close the door on the best. That's just how it is. If you don't, they're looking to revel in those big moments, and it's not the last incredible situational shot we'll see from Josh, and probably not the last one we'll see this week. And just imagine, he still has a little ways to go tactically, and once that comes in place, wow.
Yeah, the missed 7 ball from Pia Filler really has opened the floodgates for Joshua, who's won 4 consecutive racks now, and he's 5-1 ahead. He's had 2 contrasting matches so far in this tournament. He beat GJ Oren-Goran 9-0 in 32 minutes. Now, bear in mind, that was 32 minutes of being out there, so a lot of those minutes were taken up with the re-racking of the balls.
Absolutely.
But then his second match against Rafael Val, which I just told you about when he made that brilliant 2 ball in the deciding rack, that was very different. He was 5-0, 6-1 and 8-4 down.
Yeah, didn't get the connection there. We'll see Pia back at the table. Don't know if she has a kiss shot on the 2, but she does have a cross-side bank that may offer some backdoor safeties even if she misses. I think she should definitely play some type of bank here. Try and get offensive a little bit. Especially early in the rack. I mean, you don't realize with all the congestion, playing safe on the 1 ball, of course you have to do it because we can't determine shots after the break, but sometimes you need to really look at the offensive side of things, because I like her going for that, because players kick out of situations so well, and with 8 or 9 balls on the table, they're going to get a lot of safeties behind it. Looks like Josh can get at this one. Tell you, as far as table 2 and Ronald Regley and the Swiss players in general, but very impressed. Not a country that is talked about that much as one of the dominant countries in Europe, but I tell you, they're coming along.
Yeah, Regley in here to trim his deficit to just a single racket 4-3.
Phil and Michael has mentioned, tomorrow is the final 64 in the single elimination. We'll play 2 rounds of that to get down to the final 16 for the weekend.
Yeah, the way it works from here, as Jeremy said, then on Saturday we have the last 16 and the quarterfinals, and then on Sunday just 4 remain. 2 semi-finals and a final for you.
Looks like he's trying to kick 2 rails behind the 1, trying to send the cue ball at the pink 4, possibly pocketing the 7 that's hanging. I think that's the way he's trying to kick at this. Safety as well. He may have pocketed this 1. We'll see our first jump, I would think, from Pia. May have a rail first between the 8 and the 5 with the cue ball. It's something, if you are watching the YouTube channel, you see Ronald Regley as one of the few players, if the only player I've seen, breaking head on with our new break rule. No cut break at all.
Yeah, meeting the challenge head on, literally.
You know, I did that a few years ago at the U.S. Open. I made a little bit of a run at the tournament. The last year that Shane won it, actually. And I would play the cut break about halfway through the match and, you know, be swapping games just because it's such a tough type of break to extend any lead against great players. And I'd switch to a head-on and run a few racks behind it and won some matches. Don't think it's a terrible thing to switch during the matches.
Applause there for Pia Filler completing that jump shot and knocking in the 1, but the 5 is obstructing the 2. She's done herself no favours, really.
Yeah, sorry, Phil. Not a terribly tough kick to get safe, though. You want to hit the 2 full and just kind of roam the cue ball up behind the 8-9. Just let the 2 go up to the end rail. A little hard there, though. No pocket for the 2. I don't think it banks cross side, so I think Josh probably tries to squeeze the cue ball maybe underneath the pink, letting the 2 come out to the middle of the table.
I'm really impressed by Joshua Filler's approach here. It's absolutely perfect. He's treating the game, he's treating his opponent with the utmost respect, and that's really good to see.
Yeah, and I think he's doing himself a lot of favors, just sticking to the same thing he would do playing any of these opponents in the tournament. We've seen some other players vary, I think, at times, and I don't think you're doing yourself any favors there. Now, this is a tough jump. Got to carry a few balls that are a little bit apart from each other. He's got to go over a piece of the 9 and the 8. Wow. She did pocket it, but the cue ball just got a little hot and off the table.
Now, he was looking at that a little anxiously, not because he didn't think he'd made the combo. He didn't want the 3 in, clearly. It stayed out, and now he's banging.
Well, one thing you can do if you're watching Josh is learn how he just, you know, even if he has to work the rock a little more, that being the cue ball, he just almost always goes with the natural path of the cue ball. And that's just another reason why he's such a straight shooter. When you're going against the grain, that's when you start to miss balls.
Six one, 5 racks in succession for one of the men of 2022. I say one of the men because, of course, there's a debate as to who has had the best year. Shane Van Boening is the reigning world 9-ball champion after that triumph in Milton Keynes, and we must not discount what Fedor Gorst is doing in the USA, winning tournament after tournament and accumulating a large wad of cash.
Yeah, we were just talking about that prior to coming over for this match. And, you know, of course he wants to be in these big events, and right now it just isn't the timing, but he's doing what champions do. He's grinding it out. He's still playing a lot of great players over in the U.S., making some dollars. And I think there's a lot of Americans over there that should be paying attention to how much effort is put into his career, even if he can't be in necessarily the biggest tournaments in the world at the moment. Well, Josh is going to be slowed down a little bit here, so we should get another look at Pia at the table, unless he plays the kick here. This one is off the rail a little bit. This is a pretty easy kick shot for these players. And I don't think, again, this is a shot that he wouldn't shoot, playing one of what you consider the top threats against this lefty.
Now then, Pia Filler has to banish the negative memory of the missed 7-ball in rack 3 and try to forge some kind of recovery.
Yeah, nice shot on the 1, pulling the cue ball under the 2. Got a little straight here, though. So she's going to have to work the cue ball a little bit. Either a draw stroke, elevating the cue, maybe a little top inside, wrapping the cue ball out of the corner. So it looks like the draw stroke. She may have to cheat the pocket a little bit here also to avoid the purple 5. I was a little worried about that.
And there you can see the double blocker, so once more elevation needed.
Well, she had a foul on one of her jumps, but she's 2 for 2 pocketing the ball. Don't expect any problem getting the cue ball down quickly. Watch out if she overcuts it, maybe a little 9-ball action.
Open table for hubby.
You brought up a name, Feder Gorst. I always talk about him a lot in the coaching aspect of things, as far as, you know, how his reps pay off. And I think sometimes we forget to talk about Josh. It is obvious the reps he puts in, the confidence he displays, and that comes from so much training. And it's nice to see it pay off for these players that really put in the time. And obvious, the talent is probably like no other in the game.
And perhaps most frightening of all for those trying to dislodge him, Joshua Filler doesn't turn 25 until October. He's still very much building up to the prime of his career.
Yeah, and I think some things are going to continue to make him improve. Of course, the direction that the pool scene is going in, the great players that are going to push him, and of course his desire is probably the biggest factor. Nine ball cross side.
You called it, Jeremy. He's the first player in the tournament to make a golden break in 2 matches. He started off the event with a golden break, and now he knocks one in here.
Well, not to cause any drama, I'd like to see Pia when Josh was smiling and see how much she was maybe smiling in comparison to him.
Yes, entirely magnanimous. She described Joshua Filler in an interview I did with him yesterday as the love of my life, and nothing will change with this result.
Oh, when Josh first came around, you know, a young guy, so great. Some players, and I'll be fair, that seemed at times maybe a hair arrogant, but I think he's matured well. And one thing I found out about Josh is, I think I did it maybe in an interview or something like that, is I think he's a very sincere guy. I think he plays with a lot of fire, a lot of emotion, and just a lot of pureness, and very genuine.
That was Pia's reaction. It's all team Filler. So with Josh on the hill, can Pia delay this?
I fancy her chances of getting out here. Just going to maybe shave the 3 a bit. Try and push it past the side to make things easier for the 3 in the same corner as the 2. Yeah, that's nice.
Alexa Bachelsch forging on against Ronald Regley on table 2. It's 7-3 now. And he's breaking off, as you can see, or certainly hear, in rack 11. You'll hear that in a moment from the other side of the arena.
Yeah, and Pia putting a little thought into this, really, from the 4 to the 5. That's probably the shot that will determine if she gets out here in rack number 10. I wouldn't try to do too much here. Cheated the pocket nicely, and that made things a lot easier coming across the table. Smart shot. Probably got a little thinner on this 5 than she would have wanted, but I think she can follow by the 7, 2 rails to the center of the table. And I think if she gets out here, we'll hear a nice cheer, and we should actually, from the fans.
Yeah, the missed 7 ball in the 3rd rack was the start of her losing streak, but I can't imagine she's going to miss this 7 ball.
A little awkward cueing over the side. Backs the bridge up to get a little more comfortable. Very right-eye dominant player, as you can see.
Hang on a minute, says Pia. Josh, you're not in the last 64 just yet. You'll have to wait. It's 8-2. Other scores around this arena. Roman Hebler 6-1 up against Abdullah Al Yusuf. These are all in the winners' qualification, by the way. Mats Schnetner from Norway. He's 2-0 up on John Morra. Alex Kazakis and Tyler Steyer locked together at 3-3. Loho Sum 6-5 up on Konrad Yajushin. Niels Fine and Jose Alberto Delgado 4-4. Dennis Graber 5-0 up on the young German Moritz Neuhausen. And Albin Auschen 4-3 up on Mikhail Gavankiak.
And I'll tell you, Loho Sum, I'm just always impressed with that young man. Really seems like a very pleasant person, but also just becoming kind of a killer on the table, and just seems to keep getting results.
Quickly, some interesting scores on the losers round 3 slate. Aloysius Schaap 6-1 up on Riku Rompainen. Elliot Sanderson 4-2 down to Johannes Schmidt. Chris Melling 5-3 up on Daniel Bakar Zioglu. And I can tell you, Skylar Woodward is through. He's defeated Matt Edwards 8-2.
Be interesting to see if she goes for this long rail bank here. It sits pretty nice. A lot of the guys, or I should say players, when the bank sits nice here, a lot of times it's hard for them to pass on it. She is trailing 8-2. The safety's not just so easy. Can't really run it easily off. The 8's such a big ball in the center of the table to try and run the cue ball off the right side of the 1. Should Could just bank it down table, I guess, but I like her going for this. Just cut it a little too much. And a lot of times what happens with that is you're trying to get some cue ball movement.
Just mentioning Skylar Woodward through into the losers qualification round, where he awaits the loser of the match on the winners qualification side between Badr Alawadi and Jason Shaw.
And Jason's got to he's got to play well in that match. Badr always seems to play pretty solid. Doesn't really vary a whole lot. Not a guy usually is going to run 7 or 8 racks on you, but just going to play super solid. Hair of a let up there on the downswing. Not something you see from Josh too often. I think he cuts this all the way down here in a moment. Side pocket, the speed, it doesn't agree to me. Looks like you'll get behind the 8, where if you play it in the corner, you definitely have choices with your speed control.
There it is, the meeting of the husband and wife. It results in Joshua Filler defeating Pia Filler by 9 racks to 2. That was the expected result. And I think the turning point undoubtedly was the third rack when Pia had the chance to go 2-1 up and missed the 7 ball.